but our lives share a common destiny as we walk together. In a time of crisis or in a time of peace, this is a story of 8 billion beating hearts. We share this one fragile planet, the air we breathe, the land we walk on, and the oceans we swim in. Imagine borders that surround us, some more fortified than others. Borders for many of us define our lives today. For global capital and those with the right passports, borders are easy. For the global masses, these borders tell us where we can and cannot go. For the world's 2 billion Muslims, 1 out of every 4 people on this earth, our lives are interconnected by the diaspora of our hearts, of our families, and a spiritual lineage that stretches back 14 centuries. But we are only told stories that put us in boxes to police our identities. What if the full story was told about our faith, about our lives, about our cultures, the story of our love for humanity, and our stories as protectors of the world? This is for the future builders, the dreamers, those who want to escape from the futility of generations past destroying our shared world. Media has been built to divide us. We ask, what if it was built to connect? This is a manifesto written across screens. We need you. Beyond languages, beyond cultures, beyond faiths, beyond all barriers and borders, we need each other. This is for all of us.
Every human has a story, a legacy, a start, a middle, and an end. Stories can tell facts. Stories can tell fiction. Some stories take twists and turns that we don't suspect. Stories don't always have a happy ending. But stories aren't bound to books, and our tales can intertwine. Your story can collide with someone else's story, shaping their future, changing their life. With your help, Penny Appeal are changing the stories of millions of people in over 30 countries around the world. Penny Appeal's story has one simple ethos: using your small change to make a big difference. What will your story be? What will our story be?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the closing night of the Global Muslim Film Festival. My name is Dustin Craun. I'm the founder of the Center for Global Muslim Life. It's been such a blessing and an honor to be with you all over the last month across the channels of Penny Appeal. We want to thank our sponsors, Penny Appeal Worldwide, for coming through in a big way for us in this film festival, and also to our community sponsors, Amana Mutual Funds Trust and the American Muslim Community Foundation. This film festival, we've been able to feature some incredible films from around the world. We had films from 17 countries, and we were able to give awards to films from 10 countries. We hope that we can do even better next year. We saw that there were big gaps. There's gaps in parts of Africa. There's gaps in Europe. And we need to do better to continue to find the films that really tell the stories of who we are as a global community. But I think we did a good job in year one. 5 weekends of programming, around 25 live programs, 85%. It's amazing when you think about Hollywood and this conversation about Me Too, this conversation about people of color in the film industry. When we see that those filmmakers exist, that they're there in a huge way, but it's whether or not their films are supported, whether or not the films are distributed, right? So 85% of the films in our film festival were directed by people of color. 6 of the 9 awards went to female filmmakers. 8 of the 19 awards went to Black American filmmakers. 21 of the 32 films and discussions featured filmmakers based in the United States or Americans living as expats around the world. And so it was really incredible to see the diversity of film. But again, we know that we can do better. We had in our short films competition, where we'll be giving the awards for tonight, we had over 500 people from around the world take part in our audience awards voting for the Global Muslim Film Festival short films competition. And we also put together an amazing jury that included Nia Malika Dixon, who you'll see shortly, Ovidio Salazar, Mustafa Davis, Harun Sellers, Abrar Hussein, who directed the really beautiful film Inside the Haram in a Day in Al-Aqsa, Ronaldo Escoto, our brother from Mexico, and Allah Khan. We gave awards for Best Feature and Short Documentary, Best Narrative Film Feature and Short, Best Director Feature and Short, Best Music Video Short Film, Social Impact Feature and Short Awards, and Spiritual Impact Feature and Short Awards. So, and spiritual impact, I think, is unique to this festival, and it's something that I think that people should be doing. It's that we not only make an impact in the world at a social level, but we also make it through film by impacting people spiritually at the heart level. And we found some really beautiful films that were able to do that really quickly. The most of the award winners are going to be with us in this program, but a few were unable to make it. So we gave our sister in memory to our sister Yasmin Ahmed, rahimahullah. We gave her the rahmatullah alayha. We gave her the Ummah Film Vision Legacy Award. We also gave our brother Will Harris the Dagestan Chronicles, Anatomy of a Fighter, his beautiful film about Khabib Nurmagomedov. We gave him he won the Audience Award for feature film. And then Mustafa Davis and his sons are in transit right now, and so they couldn't make it. They produced the film On the Ropes, which is really, really incredible. All the films are on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook. You can see them there. And the other one that is not coming on the program is our best documentary feature, Wajd, Songs of Separation. I'll share the link for that film. It's a really incredible film about Syrian refugees and the traditional music and spirituality in Syria. So right now I'm going to play real quickly the trailer for the short films. Yeah, so really a beautiful set of films. So we're going to start first with our brother Preacher Moss and Nia Malika Dixon. We'll bring in Preach. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, beloved?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Allah's God. Keep it simple, man. Thank you for having me on the program.
Yeah, of course. And we'll bring in Nia as well. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam. So Preacher Moss, you won the award for audience award for feature for your beautiful film, A Love Supreme. So thank you for submitting. Thank you for premiering with us. Thank you to you both. Reflections, accepted speeches, anything you want to say.
Man, I'm just alhamdulillah, man. All praise to Allah, bro. Just how the whole thing came together, how you and I were able to connect, just get it in front of people. Going back to catching up with Nia and I started talking about doing something together at an event for Dr. Sherman Jackson's wife. We just stayed in touch, and opportunity presented itself, and we just went for it, man. And you talk about just working and developing something on faith. That's how the project came together. So some days I still figure out how it happened, but I don't try and spend too much time on it, man. I just say alhamdulillah, keep it moving, man. It's one of those film projects.
Exactly. It's all Allah. It was all Allah. I just alhamdulillah that Allah put us together, and that Preacher was able to open up that opportunity for me, because usually no one asks a Black Muslim woman to produce anything. So that in and of itself is a blessing. And I did it because I'd never done it before. And I also wanted to set an example to other Black Muslim filmmakers who are female, who never get that opportunity. And it was all love, I did it out of love. I swear to you. It was all love. Alhamdulillah.
Just taking the film for where it was, and everywhere I took it, people were like, I think I can help. I want to help, and I think sometimes you overlook not just the talent that's in your space, but just the amount of generosity that's in your space. I never spent time arguing about this film or problems on set. It just didn't really have that, man. It was like, okay, cool. Everybody knows their place. And at some point in time, it was like, you know what? We're just going to trust that it's going to get done and it's going to come out the way it's supposed to. And like I said, I don't spend too much time thinking about it. I just know that it came out. And it's one of those films, man, where the audience starts in the place, the artist starts in the place, and we wind up at the same place, but a higher place. And I think that was one of those things, man. I think everybody associated with the project will always remember that week or that night, the way the whole thing just came together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's beautiful. And so what's next for the film?
I'm going to enter it back in the Global Muslim Film Festival again next year, the same film.
COVID has done a number on the industry, so we kind of set back a little bit here. Submitting it on the next round is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I really believe I want to tour the film, to be honest. Especially like in the WD Muhammad community.
Yeah.
We talk about stuff like that, but we deal with so many constrictions, and the fact that it was an award and guys were like, wait a minute, this are you going to do this or happen? I'm like, man, it happened.
Yeah.
And just having something to celebrate for the whole Muslim community it was really good, man. There's so many people out there who've been supportive of me from day one. With Allah Made Me Funny to the film, and in a crazy way, not a crazy way, but I would say a best of planners type of scenario. Everything worked out, man. Dustin was there that night. We shot it. Who knew? And we were able to just catch it on film. We were able to capture it live, and it's a visual representation of where everybody was that night and how we were feeling spiritually. And it couldn't be rehearsed. That's the funny part about it. Like, if we had to do it again, and we had a script, we probably screw it up. Everything, everything happened for a reason.
Yeah,
And,
everything.
you know, so it's like you can't retell. I found you can't really retell what Allah blesses you with, because every time you do it, it diminishes what that blessing was. So when I think of this film, I just say Alhamdulillah, and I leave it at that because I don't want to diminish what it was that happened. And even now, I still figure out. I still try to remind myself exactly what happened, and I'm like, you know, let people enjoy it, and that's what it is, man.
And I want to also give a special shout out to the crew because,
Yes.
you know, when I crewed up, I went about it the way that I usually do when I produce a film. However, I went out of my way to try to find Muslim PAs and a Muslim caterer. And alhamdulillah, we were able to get so many different. I had 2 young Black Muslim women who were PAs, you know, who have never worked on a film set before. And then we had a Muslim restaurant as our caterer, and we had Muslim security. And it was just, for me as a filmmaker, that was just a slice of heaven. I mean, it was just a blessing. That's all I can say.
Oh, yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
Muslim photographers, we had everything.
Yes. Yeah, and Brother Ismail, our photographer, oh man, he was amazing. And not only was he our photographer, but he's Hafiz of Quran, and we still stay in touch. So it's like I was telling Preacher, was it yesterday, that I have this little community, and I'm honored that he's a part of it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, man. I mean, the best part of it is even in the opening, it's like we can't leave the room till we make prayer, man. You know how you have a comedy special and everybody's outside and the comedians isolated, and that was not it, man. Everybody who was somebody that was important, family, friends, everybody was in the room. And Taurus made the dua.
Yep.
I was like, T, you do it. And we had a great dua, and I laughed. I was like, that was the greatest walkout to a comedy special I've ever seen. Because you're not walking out by yourself.
MashaAllah. It was wonderful.
It's like a boxing match.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go get it done, fellas. Let's go get it done. And it was so funny. Because all the old heads think it's the funniest thing in the world. They're like, you walked out like that? I'm like, yes, sir.
Yep.
I was like, if I could have taken more people, I would have. So
I felt some angels with us, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and that was that whole thing, man. I mean, even the fire alarms.
Yeah.
It was crazy because you just call it back. Like I talked to the guy John Adams, who opened for me, and he's watching all this stuff happen in the back, the fire alarms and all of that, and he's like, dude, I thought you were going to mail it in and say, oh my God. I'm like, dude. And I'm like, dude, I'm Muslim, man. We can make this.
That's right. That's right.
I was like, dude, we're in our group. Like, I got musicians, man.
Yeah.
Like, we play through a fire. We don't care.
I mean, it's interesting, even from a directing perspective, right? That really, and a production perspective, the 2 films I would say in this entire festival that had these big crews and were super complex shoots were this one, and then the film that I produced at the U.S.-Mexico border on A Prayer Beyond Borders, where we had crews on both sides of the border. The reality is, with these live events, so much can go wrong so easily, right?
Yes. I thought the band was going to pass out. We forgot to give them water.
Yeah, so thank you, Preach.
There was a lot of weight loss.
Thank you, Preach. So we appreciate you. We're going to talk to Nia a little bit more about the jury competition. So we look forward to seeing the film everywhere soon, and a tour, inshallah, whether it's digital or in person.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Love you, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
So yeah, we're gonna bring in our brother Ovidio Salazar, also he's in Spain, from Los Angeles originally. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing?
Alf Mabruk. Oh, we're hanging in there. We're in for the long haul. So, khair. Nice to meet you, Malika, Nia.
Nice to meet you too. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And congratulations on producing a brilliant film there.
Oh, alhamdulillah. That was all Allah. Allah deserves all the praise. Ameen.
And then Ovidio also won Best Director for a documentary, mashallah, with the really beautiful film about Taha Abdurrahman, and just a brilliant film because he used his background in theater to also produce some narrative components within the film. Is really beautiful, super interesting. But let's talk a little. Thank you for that, Ovidio, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we wanted to talk now a little bit about the jury awards. Could you all just talk about the films that were included this year and what you thought about them?
Where do you want to start? I mean, which category?
No, just the short films category. You can talk broadly about the films, whether it's the documentaries or the narrative pieces or even the.
Well, I mean, they were all, each had their own little bit of brilliance, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think it was a very good selection to begin with. The fact so much creativity in the Muslim ummah amongst the ummah, and to raise up their profile is a wonderful thing. So, I mean, I think this should be encouraged, that we have these kinds of competitions, or when they say, we created you to compete amongst you in acts of virtue and doing well, so we can raise ourselves up as people. As a people, we create tribes and nations amongst you, but here we are as one, as it says, but we're all trying to describe the elephant from our particular point of view, and then to create a kind of a unity within the diversity. So I think that was the one of the aims, I thought, of any film competition, to see everyone's various points of view and where they come from and how they address the issues. So whether, and of course, storytelling is so important for us.
So important.
Don't we need more heroes, more stories, more people who we can identify with in a positive way, who project positive, portrayals of nobility and things that we can attach ourselves to. So I think that was for me one of the lessons, in going through the films and seeing how they all, were different in their own ways, and each of them having their own little, like I said, genius to it. There you go.
That is my favorite ayah in the Quran. That Allah says He has made us into nations and tribes so that we would know one another, and I really hold that to my core, because to me, it is through storytelling that we get to know one another. And as a storyteller, it's just imperative that you know what you're telling, you're very clear with your message, and you get that across to your audience in such a way that they receive it and hold on to it. And two films really stood out to me that did that were very powerful with telling their stories in nuanced ways. And they're two very different shorts. One is a narrative and one is a documentary. And the cinematography was beautiful because, when you're telling a story, you want your audience to follow along. And because this is an audio visual space,
Absolutely.
you want beautiful visuals to go along with your audio. And Friday, to me, that short doc really stood out. When you talk about social impact, that to me stood out as great storytelling in such a nuanced way. The director incorporated cell phone footage, which I thought was so great because it's a community-based theme. It's about Jummah at Masjid al-Taqwa in New York. And those themes come through so strongly in the way that the camera was able to get so intimate with the worshipers. So we had so many beautiful close-ups, but we also had some very nice establishing shots where you can see where this takes place in the heart of New York City. That to me really spoke to the skill of the director. It spoke to me to the connection that she has with her audience, and being able to give this story in such an impactful way that anybody could receive it, whether they're Black or Muslim or whatever, wherever you come from. That really truly came across to me. And so Friday was one of those standout. I mean, you saw elders and children and the disabled, and it was very inclusive because that's how our communities are. And yeah, that really stood out to me.
All right. And you were saying, you were mentioned another one as well.
Yes, and in the narrative end, you probably can guess, I'm very attuned to visuals. The cinematography of Wudu was just so pristine, and taking us on a journey from her home to the forest to where she performed Wudu, in that, like, as experimental as the story was delivered, you still get the story, and it's clear what the main character's experience is. And it was very intimate and very delicate, because that's really the theme of the story, is this woman taking this journey, and we're going on this journey along with her. And so, yeah, those two really stood out with me, and Wudu being very spiritual. Yeah.
So we actually have both the filmmakers online with us right now. So of those two films, so let's bring them in as well and give them their props.
Yes.
Aisha Amin, who directed Friday.
Yeah, congratulations. Do you have the
Alhamdulillah.
Hi, Nia.
Hey,
yeah, Mabruk.
Hey, Aisha.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
So thank you both for your incredible work. We wanted to recognize you, and it's good to recognize you with this group of filmmakers. Part of that is of this, the idea of this film festival is building connectedness between global Muslim filmmakers. So thank you for your work. I'm sure you heard Nia's words. If either of you want to reflect on your film and the competition.
Yeah, sure. I can chime in. Nia, thank you so much for those kind words. It was so heartful to hear those things, because everything you said aligned with my intentions as a director. And I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in the city, and I grew up going to the masjid with my family. And the intention behind the film was to show that the New York masjid is different than every other kind of masjid, because it brings together all kinds of people. And this masjid in particular, Masjid Taqwa, as was quoted in the film by one of the head of security, his name is Brother Ali. He was sort of my liaison and my advisor, and he has this amazing quote, which is that Bed-Stuy, which is the neighborhood in Brooklyn that the mosque is in, Bed-Stuy is like the bedrock of Brooklyn, and it's like the bedrock of Islam. And I thought that quote was so beautiful, because the Ummah in Islam is about bringing all kinds of people together, and it doesn't discriminate against race or against ethnicity or anything like that. It's about diversity. And I think that was the intention behind the film, was to show that just in this one tiny building, you can have all kinds of people. And so thank you for those words. I think you really understood it, and that means so much to me.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. I was like so touched by all your words.
Unmute yourself.
Oh.
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. I was so touched by your words, Nia. Like, I mean, obviously we have a personal connection already. So
you're muted.
No, we got it.
You can hear me, or you can't?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you can't hear me.
No, we can.
We can.
Okay. All right. So yeah, but you hit the nail on the head, and I wanted it to be delicate. I wanted it to feel very feminine. That's why I had a woman as my director of photography, as the cinematographer who shot it. And while we were going,
while we were going, we kept going over exactly the feelings that we wanted to convey to everyone. And I just was really touched that you guys even wanted my short film to be in the film festival. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. I think that both of the films were so touching and so powerful to me. I mean, Friday, of course, Imam Siraj is the bedrock of the American Muslim community, literally. Like someone had said, he's built institutions around the entire country. And I think a lot of those people who he's built institutions for may not fully recognize what he's built in Brooklyn. And you know, myself personally, that was one of the first masjids I ever went to after I took Shahada. I was there, I think even before I took Shahada, actually, I was there towards the end of the summer of 2001. And it might have been one of the first masjids I ever went into, but it's so incredible, such a beautiful place. And then wudu, just so powerful, so lyrical. And then I think the way that you go under the water and you're dealing with the reality that we're all dealing with as American Muslims, but then especially as Black Muslims, I think is so important. So thank you both. I'll ask Aisha first a question. Did they go ahead with those plans to build the next layer of the masjid there in Brooklyn?
So it's in process. It's sort of still happening. You know, because of COVID, it's been hard to get the funds in place. But Masjid Taqwa has such a strong congregation, and so many people go to it. So I think it's inevitable that they're going to expand. You know, Imam Siraj, he had these really, really, and rightfully so, these huge intentions for the masjid, and I think, you know, inshallah, those things happen. But right now, it's just beautiful as it is. Right now, it's just one large floor of the building. And sometimes in the summer, people will, as you saw in the film, just crowd out onto the street and pray onto the street. I personally think, you know, the mosque deserves an expansion, but right now, I guess it's on hold.
Yeah. And talk a little bit more about your film in terms of where are you trying to distribute it, or what's next with the film?
Yeah, so the film had a very short festival run, and short because I was able to secure distribution for it on a very cool new online platform called the Bureau of Creative Works, and they support emerging filmmakers and filmmakers that only work in the short form. So the film exists online right now. I'm very happy that it has a place on the web, somewhere where people can watch it and where it can live. And yeah, the festival run was nice. It was a little different because it's a very particular kind of documentary. You know, it doesn't have that strong of a story arc, but it's mainly one that is stronger on the visual side. So it wasn't for everyone, but it was picked up by, you know, a very few very specific kinds of festivals that are catered towards like the global South and the Muslim population and the Arab American population. I'm very glad that those people were able to see it and to interact with it.
MashaAllah. We'll bring back Nia. Can you hear us again, Nia?
I can hear now. I just couldn't hear Ayanna at all. I'm so sorry, Ayanna. I missed you.
Someone has something playing. I think it must have been Nia. Okay. And then Ayanna, let's talk more about your film as well. What it's been in it has a good reception online already. You put it out yourself, I saw, and it played at festivals. Could you talk more about the reception of the film?
So yeah, the reception of the film, it was actually received really well. We played at a number of festivals. One was in Canada for in Edmonton for Mosquers. But I decided to release it just because I was tired of going to festivals, honestly, and trying to like do the whole applications and things like that. And people really, I felt like people really needed to just watch it and be able to watch it whenever they could. But yeah, it's been received really well online. We had people coming, emailing us just to like show it again in different places and for their students and different and for like colleges and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think that in Canada, especially when we went to Mosquers in Edmonton, there's a heavy like Somali population there, and a lot of the girls and women who watched it at the film festival, they came up to me afterwards and they were just like, "I've never seen anything like that showed me, that portrayed or represented me, represented my experiences until now." And yeah, so they were all just like very grateful that I was there, and the film was able to be played there, and I was super grateful that they even came up to me and and they loved it, and I could have that experience with them, because I mean, it's my experience as well. Being a Black Muslim woman, we have all three things kind of going against us in like Western society. And I'm just happy that people were open to it and they got it.
Where,
Alhamdulillah.
where did you shoot the film? Can you talk a little bit about the shoot? Because I saw it's really beautiful. At the end of the film, you have the behind the scenes photos, and it looked like it was a very involved shoot.
Yeah, actually, we shot it at the beginning shot was shot in this house that I'm in right now, my house that I live in, and then the forest and the water, all of that was shot inside of one of our state parks in Maryland, Patapsco State Park. It's probably like one of my favorite parks because I grew up in it, camping and hiking and doing biking, everything. So I kind of knew that park by like the back of my hand. And so when I thought about it, it's like I went on a hike one day and I was in the river with my nieces and my nephews playing in the river, and it was just like, I see something here. Like I don't know, I kept getting like flashes, and then I was listening to Nina Simone, who is one of my favorite artists, and she, like, I swear, like the same night, I had a dream, and the dream was this short film, pretty much. Like it was a woman walking in the forest and cleansing herself, and all of those feelings kept going while the Nina Simone song played in my head, and I was just like, okay, I gotta write this out. So it took me a couple of years before I actually got to film it. So because of like, one, it was weather. I had started writing it right when the summer was about to end, and I had finished writing, figuring it out and writing it and rewriting it by mid-fall, I would say. And then it was just too cold to be out there. And then the next time I was on a production, working on a production like for a few months the next year. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know how this is going to work, but I have to get a shot. So then it was one summer where it was about to start getting cold, and I was like, look, I have to get this. I have to do this. Like, let's do this weekend. If we can get it done, let's just try. So I work with a crew in Baltimore called 6 Point Pictures, and we were just like, all right, let's do it. So we got it all done, and the place was the Patapsco State Park. We didn't have to really do much with like permits and things like that, because they were just like, we don't have a lot of people doing this all the time anyway, so go ahead, do your thing, as long as you don't like interrupt people or disturb nature, I guess. So yeah, but it was right in Maryland. Everything was shot in like a weekend and another day, one day.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Do you, either Nia or Ovidio, you have any questions?
No,
Ayanna,
again, a beautiful film. I mean, beautifully shot, composed. We really enjoyed it. Yeah, very much so. It's interesting, and also it got the Social Impact Award, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you so much for that.
I see. I think that's kind of a left field choice, but at the same time, very much a committed, statement about how we use our faith, our deen, and how we resolve certain things that have to do with the society and this deplorable condition that we're, that we as Muslims, wherever we are faced with nowadays. And then that's part of the journey. I mean, in terms of the wudu separating you out before you engage in your prayer, and how we integrate our that into how we conduct ourselves. It's there. Of course, the end, I think, is a bit open. It's a bit open ended. She's going into uncertainty, it seemed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's at least restored her purity, her she's in that state of wudu, so she's ready to face what comes next, I suppose.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lesson for us all. So
I wanted to ask, because I understand, but I'm not sure if everybody else gets it. I wanted to ask about the song and the choice of having the song and the singer, and how that connected with the spirituality that we were given privy to, so to speak.
Okay. So Nina Simone's Blackbird song, it's, when I listen to it, I guess you can interpret it however you want to be, however you want in your own spirit. But for me, it was all of everyone, your parents, people in society, media, everyone telling you that you're not going to be anything. Why are you even trying? Why are you doing anything? And why are you trying to succeed in a place where you're not going to succeed? You have no chance. So it's basically, while she's walking away from her mother is the one singing it at first, and then we transition into Nina Simone singing it, which is actually the mother that's in the film is actually my mother. So she started singing it, and it's basically all the things that we face from inside of the house to outside of the house, through media, through everyone saying, okay, you're a Black Muslim woman. One, you're Black. You're not going to, in America, you have all of these things going against you. You might as well just give up. You're a woman. You can't do anything. You don't have any anything that a man has. You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're whatever. And also being, I chose her to be a darker skinned Black woman as well, because we also face colorism in the Black community and in society as well. So that's another layer on top of with the song as well, by Nina Simone, who was a dark-skinned Black woman as well, who faced a lot of colorism in her career. And being Muslim, we all know that being Muslim in America is not easy, especially with Islamophobia. And they're like, well, you can't be you can't do what other women do. You can't do what other people do because you're Muslim. You have a scarf on your head, or you can't engage in a lot of other things. So I don't get it. I don't get why you even are around. You might as well just give up your whole all of your goals and whatever, So, but for me, at the end of the song, it starts to get stronger, and you see that it starts to kind of it's kind of like, look, I got this. I'm gonna do this as the way that I want to do it, and I'm gonna succeed at it. I'm gonna be strong, and I'm gonna prove all of you wrong. So the song, that's why I chose that song, because it kind of made me feel all of those emotions, and and it just in the beat and the drums felt kind of perfect. It kind of just goes with your soul a little bit more.
And that is representation that matters. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Ayanna.
Thank you.
I so much appreciate that explanation.
Yeah, thank you both, and I thank you all, and I think that Aisha and Ayanna, we could have given the Spiritual Impact Award or Social Impact Award to either film,
Yes.
because they both represent that beautifully. I think that what we wanted to do with the Spiritual Impact Award is this idea that film can have a deeply it impacts us no matter what. Unfortunately, the reality is we're impacted by a lot of the darkness of so much of cinema today that doesn't reflect beauty. And so thank you both for creating films that can be spiritually uplifting. Aisha, do you want to talk about this idea of spirituality in film and how you capture something like a masjid, people praying? Like you said, your film is very visual. And I think that the visuals in it is what makes it so spiritually powerful.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Friday actually started as a photo project because I was walking in the East Village one day and I came across a storefront masjid, which was almost like a convenience store that was converted into a mosque. And I saw that, folks were lining up on the street praying Jummah prayer. And I came back the next Friday and I brought my camera and I prayed Jummah prayer with them, and then I came out and I started taking photos, and I thought, this needs to be a visual piece, mostly because so much of what we see these days regarding Muslims on television and in film is, negative. We don't see. Do people actually know what goes on in the masjid? Like, does anyone who isn't Muslim know what goes on in the masjid? Like, it is such a beautiful experience, and people go to it once a week or more, and they're surrounded by folks they don't know. They're surrounded by friends and family, and it's such a special moment in time, especially in New York, because people work outside and they come from their offices and they come from all different walks of life, and they congregate in this one space together. And the masjid it's like the great equalizer. It equalizes everyone, and all these people come together and they start praying together, and suddenly something clicks. And I saw this when I was filming folks. I saw that their faces changed and their composure changed. The way they held themselves changed. I saw people cry. I saw people become quiet. I saw people happy and sad and thoughtful, deep in thought. And the fact that our religion allows us space to do that and then to leave and go back to your daily life, I thought, wow, this is such a cinematic thing, that someone can just turn on spirituality like that. It is so incredible. So the intention with the film was that we're going to walk you through a Jummah prayer. You're not a Muslim, you don't understand what, the masjid is, you don't really know that much about Islam. I want you to see this like you're there. I want you to watch the film, and I want you to feel like you're standing there in the masjid, in the line with those men and those women. And I've never seen anything like that before. And there's a great Toni Morrison quote, and she says, if you want to write a book about something and you haven't read anything like it before, then you have to write it. And I had never seen anything like Friday before, and I was like, okay, I guess that means I have to make it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Go ahead, Nia.
I just wanted to ask, because the beautiful voiceover was just perfect, and I wanted to find out, like, did you ask the imam to specifically talk, or did you pull from the Jummah, the khutbah from the Jummah, or like how did you come to have that audio? Because it's one of the best parts of the film, along with the visuals.
Yeah, the audio it's a funny story because it was so hard to get some of these people to talk to me. They were hesitant at first, and they didn't really want to be recorded, and it was a process, and it was a process of me gaining trust, and going to the masjid several times a week, and praying with these people, and having them know my name and who I was before I was able to record the voiceover. So the material you hear in the beginning, that's Imam Siraj. That is archival found material that I found on YouTube, actually. And I contacted the Imam and I said, listen, I'm making this film about your mosque, and I stumbled across this and you talk about the origin of it. Please, can I use it? He said yes. So I was able to use that and kind of have that voiceover be part of the film. And then on top of that, I spent several hours with the head of security and also one of the imams of the mosque, Brother Ali, and he, you know, in just a few weeks became sort of a mentor to me, and he would give me advice and speak to me about his background and how he came to Islam, and we would just sit there in like the office in the back of the mosque and talk to each other, and I hit record, and that's what you hear is just this man being incredibly honest.
Wonderful. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then Ayanna, I mean, you could talk a little bit about how do you see this difference between social impact, spiritual impact? Your film clearly does both really, really well. How do you shoot spirituality in film? I think, you know, we had an entire conversation, like an hour and a half conversation during the film festival with Ovidio and this other filmmaker, Alia Rashid, and amazing group of filmmakers, where we went into what spirituality in film is, but what is it for you, and even maybe references you were taking from in your film, in your head, like you said. And it's incredible to know that film was a dream that you had, and then you're able to manifest that dream. That's so incredible, mashallah. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, so spirituality, I think that my faith kind of brings up a lot of, it comes into the film whenever I'm shooting. So whenever I'm writing, I'm always just kind of figure out exactly what I want to convey and how I want to convey it. And basically I make sure that I have the right people around me that are shooting with me, who also understand the impact that I want to bring with my short films or my whatever visuals that I'm gonna put out. And basically, I just make sure that we have enough time that the actor and the actors or the actors know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, like what it means. So like with Wudu, our main actress, she's not Muslim. She didn't know anything about anything. She's Christian. She has like no reference right now. So when I had her praying, she was like, okay, what am I supposed to be saying? What am I supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be doing anything? Like, am I just making movements? Or I'm like, no, just stop. You're gonna breathe. I want you to just like, I told her that I just wanted her to say like Allahu Akbar, and I told her what it meant, and then she was like, oh, okay. So basically, I'm not like taking away my Christianity or good. Like I'm just saying like God is great and different things like that. And I was like, yeah, but you can also say it in English. That's fine right now. Like I was like, but I want you to feel that in you, where you're like, I want your faith to come out into the film, because that's the only way that you'll actually be able to convey it. And if you feel like you are connecting to your God, then we'll see it. And it might not say, you might not have to say anything about like Jesus or anything like that, but all you have but it will come off as, wow, she has some type of faith in her, you know, like you'll see the spirituality come through. With the wudu, I explained to her exactly what it was and why we do it, and she just took it slow. We didn't show the entire wudu, obviously. I felt like that would be a little bit, maybe a little boring for the whole film to be just the wudu. But yeah, I mean, I think that as long as people know and are aware of what they're doing and what you're trying to convey, then you'll be able to manifest that in the film, this spiritual side. And even if it's not with Muslim actors or or actors of sorry, it's kids around me. But even with actors who don't know anything about the faith, they can still convey it just through their emotions and through from them connecting with it.
Beautiful. Yeah, and thank you. And we wanted to give you both a little bit of time to talk just about what's next. And then Nia, we know you got to leave as well, but I want to give you a chance to close out as well and talk about your film festival. Who wants to
me?
go? No, I was saying I know you got to go at 1. So
yeah, I do. Alhamdulillah.
Nia,
Thank you.
why don't you start with your closing thoughts, and then also what's coming up for your film festival, and then we'll go to the other 2 filmmakers.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for putting this together, because I've never experienced something like this before, and, piggybacking on what you said about BMG Fly Festival, I created the Black Muslim Girl Fly Film Festival in February 2018 because I had never really seen anything where we as Muslim filmmakers can give ourselves a platform and celebrate each other's art, as well as learn from each other, and thirdly, have an opportunity for the rest of the world to see. So alhamdulillah, thank you for this. And the BMG Fly Festival 3rd installment is December 13th. We opened up for early submissions already. Our regular submissions deadline is my birthday, September 20th. It's that every year. And as long as you have a Black Muslim involved in your project, you're allowed to submit. But of course, we want to hear those kinds of stories like Ayanna's film, Wudu, where it is centering a Black Muslim woman and her experience. The past 2 installments, we've had some beautiful films come through, including the first musical I've ever seen starring a Black Muslim woman. And so, yeah, so inshallah, if you want to find out more, just follow us on social media, BMG Fly, that stands for Black Muslim Girl Fly, and you'll find out more there. But I just want to say, alhamdulillah, thank you so much, ladies. You are amazing, and inshallah, just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm just so proud. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Nia, for being with us. Thank you for all your incredible work. Thank you for being on the jury. Really, really beautiful voice to have with us. So yeah, we'll start with you, Aisha. Talk about what's next for you as a filmmaker.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum salam.
So I actually have a couple things coming up. I am veering a little bit away from traditional filmmaking, and I am trying to turn Friday the film into a video installation that can be installed in gallery spaces. So applying for grants for that right now, and having it be sort of like I'm creating the film inside of a traditional museum or gallery, so people can interact with it in that kind of way. So that's next on my plate. And then apart from that, I'm also working on a feature film, currently writing the script for, and it's narrative, it's not a documentary, so it's tough, but it's definitely something I'm excited about.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Thank you. And Ayanna.
So with this, this film is on the back burner now. It's on YouTube. Everything now, I've just been working on productions and writing my own things. I just finished a pilot, right before quarantine, for Showtime, working on that. And now I will be just writing. I'm just going to be writing for myself. And I'm working on a short film that is going to be cut up into a few different pieces that and it will kind of ultimately come into a feature. But yeah, that's right now. I'm just writing, trying to get as much writing done as possible.
Beautiful. Yeah. So thank you both again for being with us. It was really beautiful. And inshallah, we see more from you soon, and maybe next year.
inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
So, Ovidio, we want to,
Yeah.
finish with you. Thank you again for all your support this year. Congratulations on your award. I don't know if you wanted to talk any more about your film or your production partners.
No, yes, absolutely. Thank you very, very much for this honor of having won the Best Directors Award. And of course, I have to give great appreciation and thanks to, first of all, to Al Jazeera, who were the executive producers of it, and without them, the film wouldn't have been possible. And of course, the Moroccan production company that invited me to direct, which was Sky Media Productions. So obviously, my thanks my deep felt appreciation goes out to them. And well, having made the film, I think I'm just thrilled that everyone was able to the people that could see it, watch it, and take something from the film and from the philosophy of Dr. Taha Abdurrahman.
And any final reflections on the film festival, the jury process, and kind of where we go from here?
Yeah, are we going to be speaking to some of the others or not now?
You can stay on if you want. We're going to talk to Dia next.
But there was the other Spiritual Impact Award.
Oh yeah, talk about that one. Sorry.
Are the filmmakers here?
She actually couldn't join us. She sent Shireen Ali Haji. She sent a statement that she said it's an honor to be a part of a community of artists that shared beautiful visions this past months. We can't begin to express how grateful we are to be given the award. We are very thankful to those who voted. Thank you for considering gospel #1 in your award. We are all elated to receive this recognition. Peace and love to everyone. So yeah, if you wanted to just reflect on
well,
that.
Look, I was very impressed, to be honest. Do you want to just stay in the picture as well so that I can talk to you and I feel less.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Like I'm speaking to you rather than into a mirror. Like, are you looking at me or something?
It's all good. It's all good.
So anyway, no, I was moved first of all by the haunting song itself, and I felt that this little 5-minute film that married the song because it came out of the music video, right? That award for I was entered into the music.
It was,
video.
but then we gave it a Spiritual Impact Award.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That because I think it lifted itself out. It distinguished itself by the fact that I felt that they consciously went about marrying the lyrics of the song itself to extraordinarily strong visuals that reflected, you could say, the spiritual psychology of the self or of the soul, insofar as each shot felt like there was a real purpose behind each shot. That is to say that it takes you from the level of the nafs al-lawama, or the blameworthy self, where the song is saying, and then the protagonist wakes up and it's like the soul is woken. And then it takes you through the other stages, from that to say the inspired self, the nafs al-mulhama, and then into the pleased, the station of nafs al-mutmaina. I mean, very clearly in a few shots. I mean, even though it's a simple sort of narrative in a sense. I mean, she gets up, she takes the Quran, she prays, in a very, very economical way, but yet it leads you through the stages of a spiritual unfolding. And this is what Jihad al-Akbar actually is. If you want to say that it is, struggling with something. I mean, And again, it's reflected in the poetry very strongly of Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, because we actually have within the film itself a couple of verses, like where she's sitting down writing something. She's writing, through love, thorns become roses. And in that, you see that is actually out of a longer poem by Rumi, where he says, you know, that love endures the hardships at the hands of the beloved. So you feel like you, on one level, the film is the reenacting or the story of a woman who's been jilted, but she's not going to let that, you know, she says, I've been shackled, my soul has been kept down, and now, you know, in a way, it's the freeing of that. So through introspection, she takes the Quran, she prays, she has her tasbih, so we know what the process is. But then through that, she goes to the flower market. And anyway, then, as I said, these poems of Rumi are very clearly expressed in the film. I mean, and it refers, love endures hardships at the hands of the beloved. Through love, bitter things become sweet. Through love, bits of copper are made gold. Through love, dregs taste like pure wine. Through love, pains are as healing balms. Through love, thorns become roses. And that line is in the film. So I think, you know, she was consciously like striving through the images, yeah, to introduce us to Rumi through the journey and through that song itself. So
yeah, it's a really beautiful film. I put the link in the comment section to all the films, and Gospel Number 1 is not. I don't believe it's online except for within our film competition, so people have to look for it there. It's really beautiful. It also is reflective of this Latino Muslim experience. And we're going to go, we're actually going to bring in Dia now. Thank you, Ovidio, for everything. Thank you for all your support this month. I wanted to introduce you to Dia. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How are you?
Yeah, Dia made this really beautiful film that we screened last night, Somos Musulmanes. Ovidio also being a Latino Muslim. So, mashallah. Thank you again, Ovidio, for your support. Ovidio's in Spain, Dia's in France. We know it's late there. So thank you, Ovidio. We'll talk to you soon, inshallah.
All right. Bisalamatillah.
All right.
Salam.
Yeah, Dia, thank you again for joining us. Talk to us about this series, Unexpected Muslims. You won the Spirituality and Film Prize for a feature. And I think that there's a reason why it's a deeply spiritually impactful film. And we saw that last night we had a huge audience for the film Somos Musulmanes. Now we're talking about doing screenings in Spanish language in Mexico. So just talk about the film, talk about your series and the festival.
Okay, Bismillah. And thank you for the award of the spiritual impact for Somos Musulmanes, which is the third episode. The first one was in Bosnia, the second in China, and the third was in Mexico. And what we do is that we go to meet some communities who have this very particular history, which is being a native community. So really, that had a past in the region where they live, and also being native and a minority as a religion, as a group. So why did we choose those two criteria? It's because they had to combine, they had to really rethink their way into the Muslim community, and also into the more general state community, which is non-Muslim or non-ruled Muslim community. And these two paths are really interesting for us. We are filmmakers from France, from Tunisian origins, from Senegalese origins, etc. But we have this, we call ourselves Muslims from the West, right? So we are struggling into this kind of questions on how to fit my religion into a Western country, how to preserve my identity as a Muslim, but also my identity as Tunisian, etc., etc. And so, by going into those communities which have a very, very rich experience in this kind of field, we thought that this was very, very important work to really study their history. So, if I want to speak about Somos Musulmanes, it's a very particular episode for our series because it's the only episode where the story begins very recently. The story begins in 1994. It's very recent, but because of the particularity of their history, it fitted the series because what they are living since 1994, it is, with some, of course, different aspects, it is what Bosniaks or Chinese or Indonesian, etc., etc., lived in the 14th and 15th century. Because, today, conversion, we know that it's more an individual path. People, they convert individually. But before, in ancient times, families converted. When the father chose a path, the whole family, the whole tribe follows the father. So this is not the case anymore today, and it was the case in Mexico for the Tzotzil Muslims who converted to Islam as a community. So for us, it's a very unique history, like a modern community conversion, which occurred in Mexico, in Chiapas more particularly. So that's why it's a very unique history, and really we thank you for putting lights on this documentary. Just to resume the life of the documentary, we started screening it in cinemas in France for 6 months before that the COVID came, and it was a really huge success. We were able to make like 200 to 250 people in each city coming to the cinema and watching the documentary. So we are very, very happy that today we have the opportunity to present it in the US and also in Mexico, maybe, inshallah. So really, thank you for all your effort to put a light to this community.
Yeah, thank you, Dia. And we shared the link to your YouTube channel for Unexpected Muslims. We know that you can rent the films on your Vimeo channel. We could share that link also if you want to send it to me. And all three of the films are really, really powerful and beautiful. And I know you have a fourth film coming up about Ethiopia and Harar.
Exactly.
And we're super excited to see that film as well. And we're going to keep bringing in more film community people. Next, we're going to bring in Hind Maki. We want you all to say salam to each other. Salam alaikum, Hind.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you all?
Alaikum salam. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you, Dia. Inshallah, we'll see you again soon. And inshallah, we hope to feature the film on Harar when it comes out, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you, Hind, for being with us. It looks like you're in the car. Hopefully you're not driving. Yeah, so Hind facilitated our incredible session about Ertugrul, which from a community perspective was probably the biggest panel it was the most number of people on the panel. We had over 10 participants on the panel. And then it also had the biggest viewership of the whole month. So mashallah, just talk, and I think you have, talk about your reflections on that. I mean, I was reflecting, we could have done another panel. We could have had 10 more people. We could have made it even more global because of the phenomenon that is Ertugrul.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to actually, host that conversation, because this is a show that I really love, and I love to talk about it because it's so deep and it affects different people differently. And you're correct. The panel actually could have had like 30 people. I didn't want to whittle it down, and I reached out to people, and the people who said yes, because I thought, each one of them has so many things to offer. from their perspectives and their analysis and what they themselves have learned and gained from the show, that I really, really wanted everyone's perspective to be heard. There was nothing that I wanted to, that I felt like, oh, well, we don't really need this perspective. And actually, the opposite is true. I could have spoken to each one of them. I could have spoken to them for hours. But I think that the richness of the conversation also happened because they were somewhat in conversation with each other as well. And in both panels, or I guess among both panels, you had professors of literature, you had professors of Islamic history, you had journalists, you had community activists, you had lawyers, you had people who are fans of TV in general, people who don't normally watch TV. You have people who are, really impacted kind of culturally, like you think, oh, who are these people who I know? Love Ertugrul, you think, oh yeah, this person, that person, and then you had people who were kind of more in the DL, and then I learned that they really loved the show and how they engage with the show after my discussions with them. So yeah, I mean the panel was big, but I don't think it was unwieldy, and for me, I thought it was really important to have everyone's perspectives. The only thing that, well, not the only thing, but the thing that I thought was missing was I really wished that I could have had, voices from all over the world. I mean, most of the people were, almost everyone was in the U.S. Even if they, are diasporic Muslims. But I really would have loved to hear, people from Pakistan, people from India, people from England, from different parts of the world, and hear their perspectives.
Yeah, mashallah. That's been one of the interesting things about the film festivals. We actually have it shows that we have the American Muslim community now lives all over the planet, and we have this huge diaspora of American Muslims, obviously for some reason, because of people, whether they feel uncomfortable living in the United States or just because we as Muslims always are diasporic and global. Can you reflect a little bit for us on, with everything going on in the world? It's been really interesting to me to sit here in my house and in my my garage and have these global conversations. Can you talk a little bit about what you think about this film festival as a concept and the importance of having these types of global gatherings as Muslims?
Oh, from the moment that you told me about the film festival concept, I loved it. Not only because most of us are sitting at home and, watching a lot of TV shows, having extra time, but just the concept of watching something together and having a discussion around it. And then also, so just in general, people often do that. Like if you go on Twitter on a certain night, people will watch a TV show live and kind of live tweet it, and that's become a thing. But also, what I think is really unique about this film festival is that it exposed people to the art world, the film, poetry, documentaries from all over the world that we wouldn't have been exposed to. Most people are not sitting there searching and seeing what is the newest, cutting edge film or documentary or music video that's coming from, the Muslim majority world or from Muslim diaspora living all over the world. But you kind of did that homework for us, and brought to the fore not only for us to be able to watch these films, but also to have discussions and to engage with the producers, engage with people who are the actors and the content creators in the films. And from my perspective, that's very unique, and this was maybe the absolute right time to do it, and it is definitely the right place because everyone's at home, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you, and thank you again for your help. Can do you want to talk about what's next for you in terms of talking about Ertugrul? Are you going to continue doing that, and what's next?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I might have mentioned on the panel that I had started, a podcast a couple of years ago with one of the panelists, Randa Kuzes, called Baywatch, Bey, Baywatch. And after our panel that we had, that podcast had lain dormant for a while just because life life beckons. But after the panel discussion, we received a lot of interest in it, and we've decided to resurrect it, if you will, again, inshallah. And we have a new co-panelist, Diana Uthman, who was another one of our panelists in our film festival discussion. And I had already told every single one of the panelists that I want them back, because I really think, as I mentioned, every one of them, I could have listened to them for hours and hours. And there was just time for a couple of questions each, but I really want to dive deeper for all of them. So inshallah, I mean, that's what we're going to be working on this summer, to quote unquote resurrect the podcast. So folks should watch out for that. I did want to briefly mention too, when we're talking about the global nature of the film festival and the global nature of the fan base of Arturul, which is true. Like everywhere I travel, and well, in the last year, obviously haven't been traveling in the last few months. I run into Muslims who love the show, and that's something that actually brings us together, because we have something to talk about. But the show itself actually shows or portrays a globalized Muslim community, or globalizing Muslim community, right? I mean, the Oghuz Turks came all the way from the Near East, and they come westward, and they come westward, and they come westward. And of course, the Ottoman Empire, which is the descendant of Ertugrul himself, his son Osman, the founder of the Ottoman Empire, was a global empire that spanned from Africa to Asia, and actually impacted the European expeditions to come to the Western Hemisphere, right? And so the show itself is global, and it portrays a diasporic, in some ways, community. And we here today in 2020 are watching it from a diasporic community itself. It's kind of pretty meta, but I think maybe that's another reason why so many of us are drawn to the show itself, even if there's the particularities of Turkish culture, though we still connect to it wherever we are.
Yeah, and I think that for those who still want to watch that session, it's on our YouTube page, and there's a really great conversation with the brother from TRT World, and we talk about that diasporic data that proves the market of Muslims around the world, especially for film markets. And we call that what I call the diaspora of hearts, right? That our hearts are connected around the world. We love each other, and we want to consume each other's content. The question is whether or not we can find it. We're going to bring in our brother Justin Mashouf now as well. Assalamu alaikum, Justin.
Wa alaikum salam. Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wa alaikum salam, Hind.
Yeah. So Justin's amazing film, The Honest Struggle, won the Social Impact Award for documentary. And we really encourage masajid and people throughout the country to use that film for the important conversation about Black lives right now. We know, Hind, that you do that work every day. And so thank you for your work. We want to thank you again, Hind, for joining us. We'll see you soon, inshallah.
Eyvallah.
Thank you. Assalamu
alaikum. Hind.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, so yeah, bro, talk about the film festival, and I think you have a unique view as well, because you work, of course, in Los Angeles, you work in the industry, and so let's start there. Talk about Muslims in the industry, and how do you see things like what we're doing here as breaking down walls about Muslims in film?
I think it's important for us to, as a community, to be building content that's not necessarily trying to bend in a certain way that's attracting folks from the outside. Really, this in many cases, this is the festival that's really for us. We're a global audience of over 1.5 billion people, and it's important for us to create work that's by us, for us, and that's also attractive to everyone. And that we can make it unapologetically. So I feel like this festival was such a great space to share that work, to build with other creators, and to really have these really awesome discussions, global discussions, like, you were talking with Hind about Ortogol. It's such a amazing phenomenon, and I hope to see, more work like this, and to keep pushing us as a global audience, and uniting us, together as an amazing audience, and building our creators up.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's talk about your film real quick. Tell people, some of the resources you have on your website, how the film can be used in these times to create conversations in Muslim communities and communities more broadly.
So yeah, our website is honeststruggle.co. You can stream the film on Amazon Prime, as well as on Google Play. And then if you're in Asia or in the EU, not in the UK, you can view the film via Pivot Share, and all the links are on the website. We have an educational guide. We encourage people to reach out to us if you'd like to do a screening. We're generally available. We make ourselves available to do these online Skype sessions. Before COVID, of course, we were flying out to different centers and communities. We're really most interested in touching communities that are unfamiliar with the criminal justice system, because there's a lot of resources we have in our Muslim community, and at the same time, we have empathy and we are inspired by these stories of incarcerated Muslims. Yet at the same time, we don't really fully understand it, and we don't have the skills and the tools to welcome men and women that are coming from prison home. So we're hoping to build those conversations and mosques that, have those means that could really make a change, for the long run, and to generally make alliances with inner city masajid that have these beautiful resources of those that have been formerly incarcerated, because they bring a wealth of knowledge, input, and inspiration to our community. And we're hoping that, we can leverage that for all of our collective benefit.
I mean, inshallah. Yes. Well, thank you again for your film. Thank you for your work. What's next for you?
Oh man, a couple things that I'm not at liberty to speak about for the moment. I'm really, as far as this work and the honest struggle, we're trying to continue to do community screenings, and we're trying to get Sadiq out there as much as we can. Performing his music, a very kind of uplifting mix of R&B and kind of Muslim gospel, if you will. So, really getting Sadiq out there and leveraging his potential as a reentry expert and trainer and musician.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for joining us. We have Tariq Torre with us now as well.
Hey, Tariq.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin, for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the award. Walaikum salam, Tariq. I love the film, man. Congrats on the award.
No, thank you. No. Congrats to you, man. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. You guys have a good one. Peace to everybody.
Thank you, Dustin.
Peace.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Oh, sorry, Tariq. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tariq, for your work. Alaikum salam. Thank you for your work. Thank you for this beautiful film. Talk about your work as a filmmaker and what you wanted to create with these shorts.
Yeah, well, I think alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the things that I wanted to do was expand my poetry, and there was a lot of different ways I was thinking about doing it, and none of them included any sort of cinematic element. And I started looking at those real, deep, some of them were strange, short films on Vimeo. So I went down the rabbit hole with those. And I started thinking to myself, maybe I could put together some simple but impactful poems and portrayals of what's happening within some of the poetry that I write, so that people can have a different sensory experience with my poetry. And so, I love performing in front of people, love all the, people reading my work, but I thought it would be really important to give people a different sort of method of interacting with my poetry. And then I started doing different like shorts here or there, and it, you know, some they started working. Yeah, they started just, I guess, start clicking.
MashaAllah. Yeah, let's if you don't mind, let's play the film real quick for everyone,
Okay.
inshallah, so that they can see the beautiful film you created about your son.
Okay. Yeah, ayyuhal walad, dear beloved son, if the time should ever come when you are feeling most Icarus, desperate to fly into the sun, know your wings are a mere means of nearness to the one. As you marvel at your flight, notice the very cause of it to fly. Know our ego is an ego that prays from sunken skies. It plans countless years ahead, knows the landscape of our lives. It is the jackal filling veins. It is the hyena left inside. As it is left untamed, so it begins to rise. As it is left to wave, so it begins to tide. As it makes desire gospel, so it begins to tide. Pride is an unpinned grenade with the grass upon the clip, the lofty kingdoms that fade, first crashes on the lips. Be a gardener of what you say, a skilled master of your ship. The neft grows broader by the day, and the very hand upon it sits, if not monitored at bay. See disaster by the drip. Many men have conquered land and lives of other men. Many men have authored expansive trials for other kin. Many men have altered the sands of time for other then. He who plans as we plan, the sample size we live within, will be just a lungs exhale of nations that begin. Though their glory is wondrous, every nation has to end. The only nation worth saving is what resides within. Is what resides within.
MashaAllah, such an incredible piece, and you talk about how it's a reflection of a book by Imam Ghazali. Do you want to just talk more about this film in particular?
Yeah. So I had there's a really good brother I work with named Bill Qasim Nahi from Morocco, and so I was told I wanted to study a little bit more, and so he said before you begin your journey to studying, there's some things you probably should just read so that as somebody who's taking it seriously, you can be prepared to intake information about Allah. And so he said you should read yeah I he used to say read Ya Ayyuhal Walad, read Ya Ayyuhal Walad. I'm like, what? He's like, dear beloved son, dear beloved son. And so I couldn't find it for the longest time. I'm not sure how difficult it is as far as the printing and stuff. My son just literally threw up on the floor, but but yeah, so I it was very hard to find, so I found it, and it was just a profound primer into sort of listing out the pitfalls that a young person or anybody who is attempting to seek knowledge can fall into. Is a sort of a do's and don'ts, a guideline for people who are seeking a path. And when he does make reflections on the ego, it was thunderous. Like, it's the best way I could say it. One passage, and I might be chopping up the translation, and he talks about somebody saying, what lasted of this life, and he was like, all the speeches, all the sort of the fanfare, the lore, the folklore, the lauding. The only thing that lasted was the prayers in the middle of the night when nobody was watching. And so what Imam Ghazali is doing in this book is trying to remind this student who wrote him a letter asking him, do you have anything brief to tell me, is we need to make sure that we're always reviewing where our ego stands. And so as a father, I have two girls, and then it's also a young boy, especially for a young boy, if you want power, lower your ego. So usually, as men, we want power. But if you want power, control your nafs. That's true power. And so hopefully I was able to communicate that in that poem and that portrayal within the film.
MashaAllah, thank you for your work. Thank you for, we hope that this is just the beginning for you as a filmmaker. We know, MashaAllah, you're super prolific as a poet, but I think that the way that you're translating your poetry to film is super important. So thank you for joining us. Inshallah, we look forward to seeing you again next year.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for putting on this forum, Dustin, and everybody else who participated. And I always say we need to celebrate each other. And so I'm happy that folk got together and did that. So alhamdulillah, thank you all so much. And please, if you can ask, just make dua for my family and my loved ones, inshallah.
Yeah, may Allah make it easy and bless you all. Ameen, inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Next, we're going to go to Canada with our brother Omran Omaid. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. How's it going?
Good, good. Wa alaikum salam. Looks like you're out. Thank you for joining us. You had this really incredible film that won Best Narrative Short, Emergency Contact. Can you talk about the film and your work as a filmmaker?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Sorry, I was just gonna say sorry about my connection. I'm out here having a bit of a outing with the family, but I definitely wanted to attend this. And thank you so much for just this festival and everything, getting everyone involved, and just my involvement has been amazing, alhamdulillah. And thank you for the last minute acceptance, because I know I submitted quite late. But yeah, this story was a big part of this. Was about putting a story, a narrative about Muslims out in the world in a more subtle manner, and trying to get away from the whole stigmatization of Muslims and how they can be either one thing or another. The polar thing going on, polarizing element of Muslims, especially in the media. I think I messaged you when I emailed you. I said, like, I don't want to depict Muslims anymore as either the oppressed or the oppressive, but rather just like ordinary, everyday, proper citizens, who can help out their other fellow citizens, whether you're a Muslim or not. And we're here, and we're here to help however we can and whoever we can, inshallah.
Inshallah. So yeah, talk more about your work as a filmmaker. What's next for you? What are you working on? What are you excited about?
Yeah, right now I'm working on a new web series. Inshallah, like I'm very excited about this one because I'm telling a story about it's essentially about a coin which weaves through various people. And each episode is about a different person that the coin goes through, and I want to capture a variety of different stories, interlaced and connected with each other. Because I don't know if everybody can relate to this, where you have a piece of money, but have you ever wondered how many people that piece of currency has gone through before it got to you, and all the stories behind it? So I thought it would be a great way to kind of, especially nowadays, how there's so much separation between people. Something as simple as a quarter could tell a story about so many people in a connected way. 1 second it could be with a millionaire, and the next second it could have been with a refugee, right? Who just got into the country. So I'm trying to tell those kind of stories more, and I try to tell stories. I'm very excited to tell more stories about diversity and different cultures and worlds, and of course about Muslims. Like, I want to put more stories out there about Muslims, and making the media is a very powerful thing. So I want to try to put more narratives out there that are going to give a new perspective, a more fresh perspective and a more accurate perspective of Muslims in the world.
Yeah, mashallah. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your work. We look forward. That sounds like a really amazing series. May Allah give you tawfiq and success in producing it, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Thank you so much, Justin. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's a real honor.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Next, we'll go south of the border in this beautiful continent with our brother Ronaldo Escoto, and to Los Angeles with Allah Khan. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Peace and blessings, Ronaldo. How are you, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good to see you all. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. So I'm not unbiased in this one, but we had our jury vote, and the one of the hardest decisions for the jury was voting on best director. And knowing what went into the production of this film, that I also was a producer on A Prayer Beyond Borders, where it took both of you. This film could not have been made without both of you as directors. It was truly a binational film, with Allah crossing with the one group of filmmakers crossing the US-Mexico border, and Ronaldo setting up this incredible shoot with a full team of Mexican filmmakers in Tijuana. So I don't know which one of you wants to start, but talk about the film and talk about the uniqueness of this particular shoot.
Ronaldo, please go.
Well, I was thinking that I wanted to share a little bit more of like the experience as not being part of the Muslim community, and also something that the crew in Tijuana experienced that also don't come from that background. And I remember the day of the shooting, a lot of the crew members that were working with me would come up to me and they would say, I don't really understand what they're saying when they're praying, but I'm feeling something. No, I'm getting these goosebumps. And then another crew member came up to me and said, I don't know why I just started shedding tears. And just the whole experience was was a very, very strong experience. And I mean, focusing on the event, I think we were able to captivate in camera the uniqueness of the Christian community and the Muslim community coming together, and literally we just saw the wall disappear for a couple minutes, and it's something not only that we were able to document, but also that the whole crew was able to experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Allah.
I've been doing immigration advocacy work and working with the Latino community for most of my life, and oftentimes as an Arab Muslim, people don't understand why I would be passionate about things about the border. And I think doing this film helps visualize a lot of how all of our struggles are connected. And so it was a really powerful experience working with Ronaldo and the Mexican crew and just everyone involved. Put in a lot of care and effort into this, considering all of the social barriers. I mean, physical, literally dealing with Border Patrol and like needing permits, and having a crew shooting on literally two sides of an international border, the most militarized border in the world, but still being able to be in that environment and capture such like beauty and this transcendence of like prayer and godliness and hope was really like the goal of the film. And I think we all came together to do that really well.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you both, because I feel like my work now that I started here with the Center for Global Muslim Life is deeply rooted in the work that we started at the border together. And a lot of the ideas we've been talking about this entire month are deeply connected to the realities that we see here in the borderlands of families being separated and us as people being separated, especially by ideologies. And I think that the film talks about the borders of our hearts and our minds. And that's what we've been able to do this month with this film festival is really highlight the way that we're not divided spiritually, right? We call this the diaspora of hearts. And so thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you, Allah. And Ronaldo, I think you touched on something really important. When you had said the call to prayer for you all, they said it was really fascinating that in Tijuana, we'd be praying and the traffic would stop. because people hadn't seen something like that before, right? And you called it's like a rope from God. So you talk about yourself as a filmmaker and kind of how you see spirituality in film, how you convey it, how you did it in this film.
Yeah, well, for me, and most of the work that I've done regarding documentaries, you have to get really close to what's going on. You have to get really close to the people that that are there to tell the story, and you have to experience as close as you can, and that's what I've done in all my work. I try to feel what the other is experiencing, what the other is feeling, in order to be more true to that person or the people that are making history one way or another. And I mean, once you're there and once you're able to get as close as you can, respecting their dignity and their humanity, it is something that you feel, it is something that you feel in your body. And there is a spiritual connection. There is a spiritual connection with the other, with somebody external that englobes you and the other. And for me, yes, I can say that almost all the experiences that I've had as a filmmaker, there is something spiritual going on. Maybe I'm not able to define it as precise as I would like to, but there always is.
Yeah, and for you, Ala, how do you convey the spiritual in your film and in your work?
Well, something that Dustin and I have talked a lot about is living beyond borders, and that is integral to a lot of spiritual work. And film is a unique medium for that, because a lot of spirituality and godliness is like tied to light, and that we want to be a light in the world, in ourselves, in the way we interact with people. And film is the capturing of light and the capturing of those images. So I think the film lends itself beautifully to conveying spirituality, and there just isn't that much content that's been doing that. So seeing the few examples, like especially in this film festival series, that have been able to capture spirituality is really inspiring and motivational to continue doing community work. And spirituality for me is also like really being, like Ronaldo said, like really being able to like see someone's humanity and connecting communities. And that's something that I continue to try to do, especially in film and in my community work, and also moving into like more narrative stuff, which I've been doing since this film came out. Yeah, capturing light, capturing community, capturing things that connect us all and allow us to see the world without the barriers that divide us.
Yeah, and I know, Ronaldo, you're a full-time film educator. Can you talk a little bit about your work, and then also what you have, some of what you have coming next, or what you want to work on when, God willing, we all get out of this quarantine?
Yes, of course. Well, yeah, I'm also an educator. I have a film project that is called Stop Borders Kids in Motion, and I work with children and youth on both sides of the border. We basically work film around stop motion animation, and I've been doing that for the past maybe 4 years. And I'm also a high school teacher, and I have a cinematography class in a high school in Rosarito here in Baja California. And there's some projects that were stopped because of what we're living, the pandemic. But there's 2 documentaries on the door waiting, and one is just, it's about the relationship of female indigenous women in Baja California, and they're tied to the territory and their culture. And the other, it's about migrant people that defend migrant rights in Mexicali, Tijuana. And those are 2 projects that had to stop. We were still in pre-production. We hadn't gone to the production, but those are projects that are still hanging in there.
Yeah, and Allah, we know you're living in a multi-faith house in Los Angeles. Can you talk a bit about that and about what's your future film work, what you're looking to get into?
Mm-hmm. So I just, the beginning of 2020, for me, I started a fellowship called the Abrahamic House, where I have an intentional living with people of multiple faiths, and we have come together to kind of find ways to build community around shared values and learn about each other's differences and celebrate the ways in which that we can benefit the world together. So I'm doing that in Los Angeles now, and it's been amazing to be creative and trying to bring community together in the current climate that we're in, and trying to create these online multi-faith and multi-faith communities, and having like a diversity of events in that. And then also I've been starting to do some more cultural consultation for more narrative media production in Los Angeles, with some features and some shows that are being written that are Muslim centric. So I'm really happy to lend my voice in making sure that women of color and Muslim women are represented accurately in media. And I'm also moving a little bit into narrative work with my own writing, and but my focus still remains on like creating media that is covering different communities and showing the bridges between each other. So the piece I'm working on right now is about a Muslim woman and a Latino man. So I think the theme carries on, even though I'm kind of transitioning more into narrative work. But I'm really excited to be able to do more documentaries too when the opportunity arises.
Inshallah. I mean, yeah, and I think my reflection, as one of the filmmakers on this particular film, is that this film festival gave me a lot of hope, and it also showed me that filmmaking is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And there were a number of films in the film festival, like one of them about music and Qawwali music in Pakistan. They've been making that film for 8 years. They have 6 years of footage. They have like 5 terabytes of film that they shot. They're turning it into like an entire exhibition and distributed it themselves as a 3-hour documentary, right? And there were other films like Justin's film, The Honest Struggle, that he shot over a period of 3 years following one story. And so I think A Prayer Beyond Borders is not finished. I definitely see it as being a feature, and my prayer is that we're able to put together all the amazing footage we've already shot, add a couple of more pieces to it, and get it out by the end of this year, inshallah, as a feature documentary. So that's my prayer, and I think that's super important for the world to see more deeply what the communities have done there. So thank you all for your time. Thank you. It's a blessing to see you. Yes, Anna.
I just wanted to say I spoke recently with some of the religious leaders that are in that film, and if anyone is interested in following up on the work they're all doing like incredible work in their own communities. So you should check out what they're doing. There's a lot of virtual things and ways you can support them in their work, their community work. So just a shout out to Reverend John and Imam Wesley and the work that they're doing right now, and Robert and Pastor Guillermo.
Yeah, shout out to the Border Church. They've been gathering every Sunday. You can find them on Facebook, and to the Border Mosque. We hope to start gathering with them again soon. Any final words, Ronaldo?
Thank you so much for putting this together, Dustin. It's so wonderful to see you both. And it was just a wonderful experience. It's a life experience and a professional experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you both, and God bless. And we pray for your success in all of your work going forward. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah, peace. Next, we'll bring in our brother Muhammad McCabe, the final film we're going to talk about today. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming back. And it's really amazing. It was incredible that we got, of all the entries that we received for the short films, we actually received the most of the entries were music videos. But I think that your film could have won in multiple categories. Your film was also the only film that was a unanimous decision by the jury as the winner. So mashallah, that's incredible. And so talk about the film that you made. I think it could have won a spiritual impact award. It could have won different awards as well. So talk about the film you made, what inspired it, and yeah. And it was also your first film. I think that's important to mention as well.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Like I'm honored and honored to be awarded this from unanimously. That's awesome. Yeah, it was my first film. I mean, I've done a few things with film in the past, kind of messing around, no kind of major projects. But I feel like when you get a vision or when something kind of comes into your heart and into your mind, it kind of drives the project. And I feel like that's part of what happened here. We created this album, Seven Stations, my band. We created this album based on the Diwan of Sheikh Muhammad ibn al-Habib. And we took a lot of his poetry and these melodies, and we compiled them into kind of a rock fusion album. And from there, this was actually the first song that we created. And from there, it was actually Hakeem Archuleta. I believe I mentioned this last time that we spoke. Hakeem Archuleta, who's the main character, I guess you could say, in this film. He really pushed me to pursue an entire album after creating this song. And so once we were kind of nearing the end of the album, we wanted to put out a video also to go along with the album. And we weren't sure exactly what to do at the time. And we didn't have the right equipment. We thought about bringing filmmakers along with us, but it was just too much money and, taking other people's time. So Meek, my bandmate, him and I decided we had this vision for New Mexico because of the beautiful landscape. And I know Brother Ali actually shot a video out in Abiquiu, New Mexico, also a little bit before we did. But my personal connection to Dar al-Islam and New Mexico is that, I came to the United States from England when I was about 2 years old, and I lived in New Mexico in Abiquiu for about 3 years and spent my childhood there. I have vague memories, but there's something about Dar al-Islam and about Abiquiu that it's really breathtaking. There's definitely there's a feeling there that's an amazing feeling, and I go back regularly to visit Hakeem, visit friends out there, and visit Abiquiu just for that, just to get that kind of spiritual fulfillment for however long it lasts. Usually I like to go back a couple times a year at least, but the idea for the film, the actual story itself didn't present itself until we went out there and returned. And so we flew out to New Mexico. We rented a car. We didn't have much equipment. I actually purchased a drone for the film, but in terms of the camera footage, it was all shot on an iPhone. And I had a little gimbal, like an iPhone handheld gimbal. And we went out, we didn't really know what kind of story to put together. We knew we wanted to highlight Hakeem. We considered highlighting his son Kareem as well, but that didn't really present itself entirely the first time. And so we got a lot of great footage. We tried to come back and piece it together into something that, kind of highlighted New Mexico, the landscape, Hakeem, etc. But it really just, it wasn't coming together. And it was during that time that, Meek and I spoke again about it, kind of talked about what we could do with the footage. And I said, well, I have this really good idea. I want to go back out there just for a few days and capture some more shots. And I think I can piece together a really amazing story if Hakeem is willing to work with me. And so Hakeem was, he was totally open. He was always very supportive of the entire project. And so I shot, shot all the footage that I needed to kind of piece together the story, and then went through the editing process. It just became more powerful, I would say. And so, yeah, alhamdulillah, like the final project is amazing. It really, watching it brings me back to the time, and we had a lot of fun shooting it. But just it's an amazing story, and Hakeem is amazing. His son Kareem is amazing, and so any chance I have to spend time out there with him, or work with him on a project like this, I'm totally up for it. So
yeah, I think that's one of our big reflections, as we close the film festival for this year. And when we talked about spirituality in film, the big learning, of course, is that making film is about study. making film as Muslims is about learning. It's about spirituality. It's about our hearts, because you could have a great filmmaker, and you could have someone that creates incredible imagery, but that person may be a materialist. They may not have belief in their hearts, and that is reflected in their film work, right? And so can you, we didn't talk about this in the previous session with you, but could you talk more about who Hakeem Archuleta is and why this story is deeper than what it says? He's not given a speaking role in the film. He obviously plays a very powerful role with his son, but he's a healer. He's a healer who is world renowned. And I think that in these times, we need healers. And I also believe that film can be a form of healing in spirituality. So could you just talk a bit more about your relationship with him, who he is, and what, and how he, you created this film around him?
Yeah, so Hakeem is, he actually was part of a community that when my parents took their Shahada back in the 1970s, Hakeem was also part of that community. And, I've known him and his family for my entire life, and since I was in New Mexico. But Hakeem has been a healer for, I want to say over 40 years, at least. I think it probably extends beyond that. I think he's always been a healer. My personal relationship with him, I think, I remembered him when I was younger, and he was a teacher in Dar al-Islam in the school. And I remember him at that time. But I think that my relationship, with Hakeem became very close about 10, a little over 10 years ago. I was going through some struggles in my own life, and I think a lot of people this story will probably resonate with people who have worked with Hakeem. I was going through some struggles in my life, and so my parents recommended that I go and spend some time with him, and I did, and just who he is, and the work that he does. I feel like over time, as I worked with him, and also, the friendship between us grew during this time as well. But I think, throughout that time period, it took a while, but, he really did heal me, and it was an amazing experience. And I feel like every time I go back, it's not just New Mexico and the land, which is amazing, and the place, but also the reason I go back is to see Hakeem, because there is that, that element of healing, of just being with him. He does somatic work, work in the body. And I don't want to speak for him because I don't know everything that he does. But I've done that side of the work with him. But I think that, like I said, just spending time with him as well, talking to him, his wisdom, it's just, he's a healer, and he really does heal people. And I think a lot of people, he's worked with so many people. I know that a lot of people know who he is and are familiar. If you're not familiar with Hakeem Archuleta, definitely look him up. You can find information about him online. I think he has a website. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then, of course, we also featured your film, the short Ertugrul piece that you all put together during the film festival. What's next for you as a filmmaker, as a musician?
So as a musician, it's funny. The Seven Stations project has been put on hold a little bit because of COVID-19, and we're unable to get together and actually play music. So we've been doing some music here and there and sending files over the internet, but it's not quite the same. We do intend to create more. We have some ideas floating around, nothing set in stone yet. In terms of filmmaking, though, I actually have upgraded my equipment with the intention of kind of pursuing more filmmaking. And so personally, I want to do that. But I think if, this video is a testament to the fact that, just like in music, if you have a great idea for a song or an album, if you have a great concept, same with filmmaking, you have a great concept, great story to tell, the equipment can provide that, that level increase in terms of, the quality and how you present the story. But I think it's fair to say that even with even without the technology, a great story is a great story. A great song is a great song, and I think that it's possible to capture that in film. So, while I have purchased like the equipment now and plan to pursue more filmmaking, I think that it really depends on when my heart is kind of inspired and when I'm struck with an idea or a concept for a film, and then that just drives me. And inshallah, with the right equipment now, when that time does come, I'll be able to create something that kind of is powerful and speaks to that, whatever that vision may be.
Beautiful. So thank you for joining us. We're going to play your film as we close out the festival. I think it's good to close with salawat on the Prophet ﷺ and with this beautiful story. So thank you again for joining us. Inshallah, we look, Allah give you tawfiq and success in all of your work. And we hope to have you back again another year, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Dustin. I really appreciate this and everything you're doing, and all of the wonderful people that have contributed here, and the beautiful films, and just thank you to everyone that's been involved in this.
Yeah, thank you so much, bro. Good to see you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah, so that's it for year one of the Global Muslim Film Festival. What a blessing it's been. It's really been powerful for me. I think it's transformative for us as a community to see what's possible, and to see our vision and our realities through our own lenses in a big way, in a global way that we've seen over 5 weekends. So, and inshallah, we're going to continue doing monthly screenings as we lead into the 2021 Film Festival that we hope can be in person in some different cities around the world. If you have films that you want to send to us or that you want us to feature in those monthly sessions, please send them. We're happy to screen them. We want to thank again our sponsors, Penny Appeal, the Ayanna Mutual Funds Trust, and the American Muslim Community Foundation. Like I said, we had films from around the world, but we also had gaps. I'm definitely going to take a big dive into films from in Africa. We've seen some filmmakers, but we want to see more. And so, and we pray that next year we can be even more diverse. I think I want to end with, reflecting on this time that we're living in through a message from one of my teachers, Sheikh Mohammed Haidara Al-Jalani, the great Gambian Sheikh. We had a session with him yesterday, and he told us about this time that we're living in, that God closed one door for us to be together physically and opened another door for us to be together spiritually. There's a great blessing in this connection, and we've seen that through what we've been doing this month online. A hefty and weighty blessing, and one that many people don't have, the connection through the hearts. Previous generations of awliya could always connect to other people through their hearts. Today, through technology, we're able to tangibly see how this happens, right? This idea of the diaspora of the hearts. This is a huge blessing for us to see this as a door to deepen our understanding of who Allah is. We should have a state of gratefulness and not complain. We don't show gratitude for all these blessings enough. We have to believe that behind this tribulation is something very good, a great, what Habib Omar called a great opening that is coming, inshallah. We shouldn't just focus on it only being a tribulation and a difficulty. It is Allah who gives success in all endeavors. And we pray that Allah gives us tawfiq and success in this work. And as a center of the Center for Global Muslim Life, we have a number of more different global gatherings that we're trying to have over the next few months. One focused on spiritual wellness centers, one focused on global Muslim startups, and we pray that we're having one for Hajj as well. So with that, we'll end with salawat and with this beautiful film, Qad Bada. Assalamu alaikum.